On today's episode, we head to the overlander's paradise known as Khwai. We specifically will be at a campsite known as Magotho, which is renowned for being seriously wild and having animals come right to your campsite. But you're also greatly rewarded for leaving your camp and exploring the beautiful nearby Kwai River. Join us for 4 exciting days of camping and exploring as we continue our journey through the Okavango Delta. Last episode we explored the Moremi Game Reserve in the Okavango Delta. Today we head towards the famous Khwai Community concession, where we will be spending 4 days camping at Mahroto and exploring the Kwai River area before we begin our journey into the Chobe National Park. This area is famous for its abundance of wildlife. This series of Roam Overlanding is proudly brought to you by the power of Red Arc and supported by Garmin, and in part by Bushtec aluminium canopies, Easy On, Worth, and cross-country insurance consultants and compendium insurance brokers. We departed our 2-day break at Mankwe. It was a great spot to stop, recharge and relax, but we were ready to experience Khwai. Rolf and I had been chatting on the radio and we're just saying that this really is bucket list driving. It's awesome driving these thick sand roads, and this is where you are very much rewarded for building an amazing overlanding rig. This is where upgrading your suspension, your battery system, having your rooftop tents and canopies, this is where it all becomes worthwhile, and this is what makes it all worth it. This is what the dream is all for, to get out to these places, to share it with our friends, our family, and to share it with you guys. It's a really nice little moment here on our way to Khwai, thinking about how all the puzzle pieces have fit together to get us here right now. And although it's dry and desolate, your mind just plays games with your imagination, trying to picture all of this Mapani thick and green when the rain falls, and all you would see is 2 little white sand tracks in front of you in a sea of green. It must be quite an amazing thing. So we have arrived nicely in Khwai now. We're just trying to find some shops just to resupply on just some little things like some cokes and drinking water, because the temperatures have gone up again, and when it's really hot we can go through 10 liters of water a day of drinking between Andy, my dad and myself. What a nice thing to have a little bit extra. I was really surprised by how populated Khwai was, and after falling hook, line and sinker for the first shop with low stock and incredibly high prices, we found another shop with much friendlier staff, more variety and much better pricing. They were also one of the only places where you could buy a bit of diesel in an emergency. I wouldn't rely on this as a fuel stop and purely use it for an emergency. You cannot guarantee the quality of fuel sold out here. Most of the roads were recommended to us as being unsafe to travel, and that sticking to the main transit road would make sure we got to our camp safely and in time. It's really amazing seeing how unique the landscape is around here. The lush ecosystem that explodes out of this river is just incredible.
The dead tree forest as you enter Magotho is said to have a couple resident leopards that call it home. Maybe we'll be in luck and spot some for ourselves. As we made our way back to the river road, we realized there was bound to be a plethora of animals that would be coming to the water every single day. I think we're going to see plenty of elephants around here on these scorching days. And the hope is that this time, all the game is going to come right to us.
Here we are at Khwai. Lovely camps. They're just a bit far from the ablution, and it is very wild here. And you're close to water, so things like hippos and all sorts of stuff at night will be interesting. So we've got a nice big tree covering us, really nice. You can see here that the wilderness is just going to come to you. I think we're going to see plenty of animals from our camp out here. So we're here for 4 days, plenty of time to chill and make this our home. It is a good 40 degrees. Luckily, we have pretty well acclimated to the conditions by now. The third bridge had, you know, that wild feeling, but you did feel like safe. Here, you kind of feel a bit more on your own. But it's raw and beautiful, and I'm really excited to share this with you guys. Our new awning that we've been using. It's called the Dragonfly by Easy Awn, and it is actually quite cool, especially when it comes to the tray setup, because you know the doors are pretty significant size on their own and they act as awnings pretty much. So what's nice is that if you're stopping on the side of the road, you just use the door, but when you get to camp, you want a nice significant amount of shade. Like right now, the sun is blisteringly hot. What's really nice with the Dragonfly, especially this one, you get two versions. You get the mini and you get the large. We've gone for the large. This thing makes a huge amount of shade. It is 6 meters long, and basically once it's all set up, you have the whole side of your car covered with shade. So let me set it up quick and I'll show you. As you can see, it goes all the way out to basically the bonnet of the car, and it sticks out all the way out the back over here. You've got plenty of poles kind of supporting the whole structure, and you've got legs. So it's actually very solid when it's windy, when it's rainy, all sorts of stuff like that. And you can angle, you know, the awning up and down to be able to let water run off and things like that. So overall, been very chuffed with it so far for our first week, and it's always a nice once we've got it set up and everything. We've got a massive patch of shade, and as the sun starts to set, it just extends that shade even more. So very, very, very nice.
We were basically set up and ready to experience the magic of Khwai. sun has set. Hyenas are starting their rounds. Hippos are going to be getting out the water soon. The Jaffel iron is getting heated up and dinner is on the run. But we've set up our tents and it feels good to have our beds back. You know, I always sleep well in my rooftop tent. It was really nice having, you know, a place to stay at Mankwe and all that, but I must say, I've spent a lot of nights in my rooftop tent and it is just one of my favorite places to be when I'm on a trip. So I always get a good night's sleep, no back pain, nothing like that. So it's always good to get back in the rooftop tent. I'm keen to see what comes through our camp tonight and what we see. Hopefully not too much activity, but nice to see something here and there.
I'm happy, yeah, bro. So we've repositioned the vehicles for solar in the morning. The sun here, we need it. Sitting in the same spot, running double fridges, charging batteries, running inverters, all that stuff, chomps a hell of a lot of power. So to try and get the most out of it, we're running double solar panels. We are facing the vehicles into the sun in the morning and then changing it in the afternoon as well, just so we can kind of optimize our solar charging throughout the day. Let's see what we're pushing at the moment. So at the moment we're pushing about 10 amps with the two panels, so it's a bit non-optimal in terms of the light right now, but that should just get better and better and better as it goes on. The most I've seen with my current setup I think is about 17.9 amps with the two solar panels, so it can definitely push quite a bit. This at least now will at least get the batteries going. We dropped down to 28% last night, so we do need a good bit of a charge. So we'll see how it goes today. We had a nice big hippo come through our camp last night. A big chunky boy. I heard him munching grass. But I zipped open the tent a little bit, shone my torch on him, and he turned around and walked away. So that was not too bad. We had a similar incident with a little honey badger last night. He came also to say hi, actually right where I am right now. I think that's his poop. And also just turned the torch on, saw him go, oh, there's a honey badger, and then boop, turns around and runs away. So it seems like a torch is a good friend out here in the bush when there's lots of animals and stuff around. Man, this is magic. So I feel like that is the beauty of Magotho here. Having the Kwai River right in front of us, two ellies busy playing in the water. Right there, we can spot it right from our camp. It's fantastic. Time for a bit of brunch now. Let's pull out the gas burners and see what we're gonna put together. There's not much like cooking breakfast in the bush to the sounds of fish eagles and elephants playing in the river nearby. This is a very special little spot. I mean, scrambled egg is notoriously the worst freaking thing to do while camping because it often ends up in massive amounts of dishes. This is literally just from wiping the pan out with a bit of paper towel. So the non-stick on here is serious.
We took it slow this morning. We had time to freshen up at the ablutions and just relax and enjoy watching the game come down to the river throughout the day. We got such great quality sightings, and it's so special to see the animals just doing their thing. You can almost forget that all of these animals are completely wild. Where in the world can you have an experience like this? To really be completely in nature. So we have decided we're going to shift campsites for the next couple days. Found a spot that's also a bit closer to the ablutions, nice open area around it. We're going to sacrifice a little bit of shade, but we're going to gain a hell of a lot of visibility. We have a beautiful 360-degree view of everything. Very, very nice. Ooh, an elephant.
Cheers. Good
Cheers.
to a stellar expedition.
Having all the equipment we do allowed us to pick a more open campsite and not fall prey to the harsh sun. It would also give us better solar charging over the next coming days and potentially give us good visibility of animals at night. So today has been a massive day on our solar, like the biggest day I've ever done. 1645 watt hour. But it is still not enough. Well, I'm at 76%, so I charged from 27 this morning. Just for perspective, 1,600 watt hours is more than my, or just about the same as my 120 amp hour lithium. So I'm basically charged an entire lithium battery's worth of solar in one day, and we're only at 76%. So that just goes to show you how high our consumption is right now. When both the fridges kick in, we are using 10 amps. That's a lot of power. Basically, that is what I needed to reach, was 73% is what I needed to reach to make it through the night running the fridges. But the problem is, tomorrow we are going to have to go for a game drive. The solar will not be enough to keep up with these conditions. The positive side effect of our fridges hammering our batteries is that we never went without ice cold drinks, and our second evening in Khwai promised to be as perfect as our first. The whole team had really started to relax now, and we pulled together to prepare an incredible dinner. We would be frying up some potato chips, braaiing some steaks, and Rolfie would be making a nice mushroom and garlic sauce. So the smells coming out of our camp were just heavenly. The sunset and scenes of the bush are something that I will never forget about Mahroto. It's just one of the most majestic places I've ever camped. But when the sun sets, you really do have to keep your eyes peeled. The hippos leave the water and start their grazing, and you really don't want to bump into one of those by mistake.
Well, we had a very interesting evening there. A massive thunderstorm came through, and I hadn't packed away the awning or anything. Our vehicles were facing in the complete opposite direction that they should be for wind, so the wind was pummeling us from behind. It was blasting the awning. The awning stayed together beautifully, actually. It bucketed down with rain. It was just, the wind was shaking everything around. Out of nowhere. And now there's this it's hot. It's early and it's hot. So obviously some hot wind came through and brought a big storm with it. And, well, it is what it is. It's now the morning. Time for coffee. Time for brekkie. And I think today we're going for a game drive. So we've definitely had a little bit of an interesting morning. Rolfie wasn't feeling so well, so we had to get the first aid kits out, check his blood pressure, his temperature, all that stuff. Everything seems alright. Blood pressure's a bit high, but you know, that's what happens with us big guys. But we're just gonna keep an eye on him today. He's not driving this morning. He's just driving with his dad. But we're gonna just go out on a nice little game drive, see what we can see. The rain really came down yesterday and it's still a little bit overcast, so we need to do a drive anyway to charge up our batteries. So we are killing two birds with one stone.
The riverfront of Mahroto isn't massive, and you can explore it pretty easily in a morning, which is great. There are a couple nice spots to stop where you can just soak it all in. And there is a lot to soak in, so stop often and just look around and you'll be amazed at the scenes you'll spot. It's truly a magnificent place that's constantly changing and is a magnet for life. We got back from a very satisfying morning game drive, and after messaging home to let everybody know we're happy and healthy, we had some time to kill, so decided to experiment with baking a bread for a nice brunch. It was mostly cooked, and it hit the spot, but I definitely needed a little bit more practice. We had a hearty meal, and after a good nap or two to make it through the heat of the day, we were ready for another game drive. We came in search of wild dogs. We heard that there were potentially some wild dogs down here trying to cross the river, but yeah, we have not found such a thing. We found plenty of elephants, some crocodiles, hippos, waterbuck, reedbuck, fish eagles, some leopard-faced vultures, a good amount of other stuff though, so definitely a worthwhile game drive. And also at the same time we're charging up the batteries and stuff. Luckily the sun has come out now, but it's been overcast and miserable pretty much all day. So we're gonna have a nice G&T here by the river and enjoy the bushveld all around us. So we've been in and out of our first aid kit today, so I thought let me actually take a little bit of time to talk about it. So this is a very comprehensive kit from Wild Medics. They're actually the team that I did my wilderness first responders training through. Now, both Andy and I have first aid qualification. Andy has got 30 years experience in the airline industry doing level 3 first aid on board. So he's got a lot more experience than me. But I just thought it would be good to have a proper kit for everything from broken limbs, snake bite stuff, gunshot wounds, you know, really bad traumatic cuts, injuries and stuff like that can happen out in the middle of nowhere. So we've got plenty of bandages, you know, for packing wounds, for things like that. We've got burn control, we've got, you know, thermal control, we've got everything you can imagine, from the basics of, you know, like stethoscopes and freaking blood pressure cuffs. We've got mouth-to-mouth stuff for any CPR. We've got oximeters, we've got glucose monitors, we've got, you know, thermometers, everything that you could think of in terms of a wilderness, you know, first responder type, you know, kit. We've got stuff for rehydration, some, you know, a few little medical things in here, some tick removers, some good scissors, torches, all sorts of stuff like that. And I like these comprehensive kits because this is a practical, very useful kit. This is actually going to help you save someone. A lot of the other kits that you get that are like kind of store-bought, run-of-the-mill things, they'll look a bit smaller, and they'll have their first aid thing on them, and you'll open them up and it's a bunch of bandages, and that's really about it. You're going to really run out of those bandages if you have to treat a proper wound, or you got to look after somebody longer term. You are going to absolutely mince through all of that stuff. So what I've done here is I've built my own little ouch pouch, which has got some bandages and some disinfectants and some ointments, lots of burn shield, plasters, things like that. Just a little one. Quick access. We've used this a couple times on the trip already, just for little, you know, plasters and stuff like that. But this is the heavy worker. This is where the training becomes important. So to really effectively use something like this, I would recommend actually going on a course with Wild Medics. I think my course was 8 or 9 days. We did simulations, we did a lot of theoretical learning, we wrote an exam, we did a whole proper thing, and it was a fantastic experience. I can now sit now, for example, Rolfie was having some issues. He wanted me to check his blood pressure. I could sit with him, I could check his blood pressure, I can check his oxygen. You know, we can see, is there something going on? Is it just a feeling? Is it is it a food poisoning? Is it a medical interaction with something else? Or what's going on? Just gives us a bit of insight having that knowledge. Whereas if you're just sitting there and you're just going, oh, I feel bad, and you don't know what it is, you don't know how bad it is until you need to rush to a hospital. Whereas at least we can have a little bit of foresight, and considering we're a team of 5 people, you increase your likelihood of weird instances of things happening. So I think it's good to be prepared. I'm very grateful. So Wild Medics did sponsor us this kit, which I'm very, very grateful for, because it's really, you know, come in handy on this trip. But hopefully we don't have to use any of the really hectic stuff just yet. But yeah, so far, really cool. But at least we know that if something dangerous does happen, we are at least prepared for it. So we've done the training of how to use the splints and how to, you know, prep an arm or an ankle or a leg or something like that, a neck, from any injuries that might happen, you know, in and around camping, 4x4ing and overlanding. So I think personally, I highly recommend go and actually do a course and go and see why you might need something like this. You would be absolutely surprised at how empowering the experience is. So if you ever looking, you know, to improve yourself, learn some new skills, you know, protect your family, things like that, I highly recommend checking out Wild Medics. Walter and his team are absolutely incredible, real adventurous people, and excellent teachers. So I highly recommend checking them out and, you know, going to go and see what they're all about. I don't think you can go wrong. One, where we keep this is we keep it in a very easy to access central place. I like it to be in the vehicle where it's easily accessible from within the vehicle in case something happens and we're in the cars. So that lives just in here. Everyone in the team knows where it is and we can easily get to it. It's there with all of our other medications and stuff like that. So yeah, let's put a little ouchie pouch back and let's make some dinner. We were just quietly enjoying our sunset when all we heard was Andy saying, "elephant." And what unraveled next was simply the most beautiful experience. That was really intense. I mean, all of a sudden, the Ellie was walking towards our camp, and then he just went, boom, straight in through the camp. Holy cow. He's still over there by the ablutions. That was awesome. He basically just walked in through around the vehicles. The second he saw our fire, he kind of turned away a little bit. But he was very intrigued with us. But that is freaking awesome experience. That is why I came to Mahroto. One of our neighbors who we actually traded campsites with came to us. We noticed they hadn't come to their camp in time last night. They've been stuck for a couple hours. They saw our big trucks and they've asked us to come and help get them out. Their Hilux was underwater and had drowned, so we're going to go and help with the recovery. They've been helped by somebody with a little RAV4. It wasn't really cutting the cake, so let's get the winches out, get some recovery stuff, and get over, try help these guys out. Hopefully we just hook up and we go.
got a bridle out because I don't really want to damage my car, so we'll bridle up for them. And we're just gonna pull it out with a snatch strap, some pull. We could hook up the winch and do it slow and steady, which is also an option, but time is of the essence. We don't want to be lingering out there for too long, so I think a snatch strap is the answer.
So much for a peaceful evening.
Remember when I said in camp, oh, you know, this part of the trip's boring, we're just sitting here like happy campers. So in true Botswana fashion, the mechanic who's helping the Dutch couple got a puncture leading us towards the vehicle. So we're about 200-300 meters away. He's just quickly changing his tire, and then we're getting going again, and then we're going to see what the situation is. It sounds like the Hilux is properly stuck, so we'll see what they have to actually do. A Hilux.
Leave your lights on, bro. Oh gosh.
Okay, go! Okay!
Luckily, the recovery was over quickly. The people who had initially come to help were extremely drunk, and the two of them were glad to be out of this nightmare. Luckily, the good old trusty Hilux still had drive, and was going to be able to drive back to camp under its own steam, even though a little bit drowned.
You guys are staying a couple more days at Khwai. This should be an interesting little adventure. Back to the camp, we've got to find our way through these very tight tracks and trails. Luckily we got the Garmin here, and I've got the route on here where we drove using the breadcrumbs and stuff, so it shouldn't be too bad to get back to where we were.
It was 3 in the morning, everyone was exhausted, but luckily our new friends were safe and could better deal with the problem in the morning. We were all feeling a tad rough after last night's excitement, and were a bit slow to get out of bed. But we still had quite a bit to do before we could properly relax. We needed to help arrange the evacuation of Louis and Clara's vehicle.
So we have managed to communicate with the Dutchies rental company. They are sending a recovery vehicle from Toyota. They'll come and sort out their vehicle. Luckily we had our little Garmin InReach Mini with us, and we could actually chat via satellite with them and do that. Otherwise we would have been having to go and run around and find locals and try and figure out cell phones and signal, and driving up and down and trying to make a bunch of plans. But luckily we could send them a little message via email, and they could respond and chat to us. So at least that is now all sorted. So today we'll just hang out here at camp. We'll have a nice braai this evening, and then tomorrow morning we make our way into Savuti.
Just a casual shower at Mahroto. Really busy munching grass outside. Well, that was crazy timing. And there I am, taking out my citronella soap to have a shower. And then not thinking that citron, citrus, lemons, oranges are an elephant's favorite thing. The Ellie, as I whip out the citronella soap, turns around and walks right up to the shower. Well, that's a unique experience. I surely won't be forgetting soon. So we're bringing this episode to an end. Our time here at Mahroto has been incredible. It's been a place that's really surprised me with its uniqueness. The encounters we've had with the animals right up close, being able to see the animals come to the river right there in front of us throughout the day. You can literally just sit and relax and enjoy the environment. The hippos, we've heard lions in the distance, we've heard hyenas, we've had hyenas and hippos come through the camp. We've had elephants in our camp. It's been such a unique experience. We've met the Dutchies. We've pulled them out of a river last night at 3 o'clock in the morning, and the whole experience here has been so wonderful. It's been so awesome to share that with you guys. It's been really refreshing for us to stay in a place for so long, to be here for 4 days. That's our longest ever stay in a place on Rome Overlanding. So it was really nice, and to share that with everybody was awesome. Now we're going to be moving on to Savuti in the next episode, and that is going to be something really awesome to share with you guys. We've never been there before, so we've got no idea what to expect, but I've heard glowing reviews of the Chobe National Park, so I can't wait to get out there. We're going to be spending 3 days at Savuti, we're going to be spending a day at Muchenji, and we're going to be spending 2 nights at Senyati in Kasane. So we have got a lovely last bit of the trip ahead of us, and I'm super excited to get out there tomorrow nice and early and hit the road. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Rome Overlanding, and we'll catch you on the next adventure. Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of Rome Overlanding. I really hope you enjoyed exploring Khwai and Magotho with us, and I hope you will join us on the next episode when we head through to the Chobe National Park to stay at Savuti. And please don't forget to leave us a comment down below and like the video so that YouTube knows you want to see more Rome Overlanding. Thank you so much to the awesome sponsors for making these trips happen and providing us with equipment designed to conquer the toughest overlanding conditions. And I want to let our Patreon members know how much I appreciate their continued support month after month, keeping Rome alive one video at a time. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you on the next adventure when we head to Khwai. Cheers!